my shoulder there is an absolute ripper. So it's going to be very comfortable in there for the next 4 nights. So heading down to the zoo now to catch up with the committee and see what the rest of the afternoon brings.
All the boxes are in the theatre. They're in the theatre.
So we've got our location for the conference setting. Check out this little door here. So we're coming in through that space. We've got a nice theatre just ahead through these doors, and also utilising that space over this way. So we'll capture a little bit of the behind the scenes of the conference prep, and then we'll get into it, eh?
This looks nice. I'm like, back off, you didn't buy registration. Orangutan toy. No,
I still maintain you should have just put one in everybody.
Yeah, it's come up real nice.
Good morning. So this morning is all about setting up for the actual conference. So from 7 o'clock, which is about a bit under 10 minutes, we're going to meet in there, and then all the delegates are going to start arriving from 8. Yeah, so looking forward to getting in there and catching up with a few Gumby crew. But yeah, a few familiar faces from across Australia and Australasia. Should be fun.
In somehow.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Go.
Morning, Joe. Now Coleman, looking after you. Done, Melbourne. Pump out a couple of reps, mate.
Auction items, girls here.
Yeah.
Auction items and stuff.
Look out. So all our delegates have checked in now. They're just over my shoulder here. We are waiting out the front here for conference to officially begin. So we're going to have a welcome to country and also the President's address. And then the fun and frivolity and education continues from there. So looking forward to it. We've got Trice on the ditch with his nan as well, Robyn. So looking forward to this. Let's check it out.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the ASZK 2024 conference. My name's Chris. We'll do a bigger introduction inside, but we're going to start this morning with a welcome to country.
Kaya, Whadjuk Nija Ngani Whadjuk Noongar Country. Nija Larakia, endangered. Ngunnawal, Wurundjeri, Gadigal, Luricha, Naarm, Ghana, Noongar, Aotearoa, Whadjuk. Hello and welcome to all of you from all of those places or groups from around Australia. Whadjuk meaning country or the land here in Perth, which is all of Noongar Country. And there's about 30,000 Noongars, so we are the largest Aboriginal group in Australia. And for us to heal, we need to know the truth-telling stories of that place. And in fact, any creation story of the land is specific to the First Nations people of the country. And especially when we do a smoking ceremony or we play the yidaki or we shake the tubes or play the tapping sticks, the animals and birds come out to check us out. You are here in Whadjuk Noongar, and may you travel safely and be kind to one another and respectful. Make your loyal friendship, because you never know one day when we will cross paths again on this beautiful land. Yanka, nidja Jenna. Have a great time while you're here. Thank you.
Nicely done, Trice. Nailed it, mate. Well done. Well done.
Good morning, how are you all? My name is David Van Oren. So I just wanted to welcome you all here. It looks like a really great program that you've got going today. We're always constantly learning. I'm on the most steep learning curve I've ever been on coming back here at the moment, but I know each and every one of you are constantly sharing ideas and knowledge and improving the way we do, and it's so wonderful to see the impact, isn't it? You know, that we know we're making a real difference to people's behaviour and to wildlife here and across the world. So good stuff, you guys. You're legends. Love you, and have a great conference. Thank you.
So I'm Chris. I'll try to get around to meet as many of you as I can throughout the conference. We do have a lot of the committee here too, a few that couldn't come, but most are here. I'll run through that in a moment. I'd like to start with my own acknowledgement to country, to the Whadjuk Noongar people of this country, as the traditional custodians of the land and seas that we're on, and particularly as the original conservationists of animals and plants and fauna and flora and the environment. And I think that ties in really neatly with our conference theme of the evolving role of zookeepers. So I would like to make that acknowledgement and invite you all to reflect on the same too. A travel scholarship to Bonnie Bilson, who works at Port Moresby Nature Park in Papua New Guinea. There's a little hold up with Bonnie's travel. She's on her way. She'll be arriving tonight and will be with us for the rest of the conference. And she's even presenting too. So that's really good that she's made the trek down here into Perth. We're not live streaming, but this is recorded for our YouTube channel for members who can't make it here, just to again get our messages out there and for better outreach. So,
but welcome to Perth, everyone. What I'm going to be talking about today is some of our breeding programs here at Perth Zoo. This photograph is of my grandfather holding a numbat that was brought in by a cat on the family farm down in Kojana, which for those of you who aren't familiar is about halfway between Perth and Albany in the southwest here. And this photograph was taken in 1948, but by the time I was a young child visiting the farm, numbats were long gone. And of those 136 species, we have 24 that are in managed conservation programs of some sort, and that includes both our exotic species as well as our native species. And so I guess the point I'm trying to make here to you all is the importance of research and the value it contributes to a breeding program. While some species we can quite reliably produce the numbers for release, we really want to make sure that we are producing fit animals that are healthy, predator aware and able to survive well and breed in the wild. This is in safe hands. Thank you.
How do you identify which species you wish to be involved in?
So I think historically it's been the impression that I get, and I've only been in this role for less than 2 years, the impression I get is that it has been tied very much to recovery plans and having local West Australian species that have been identified as suitable for captive breeding. But for some species there's also been some modelling done by various different university partners for specific species. And some of the species that have been released up there are some of the digging mammals. So it's thought that habitat restoration is not just the replacement of animals, but all of those flow-on effects from dispersal of fungi and all of that kind of thing. So there's quite a lot of vegetation monitoring and monitoring on other species as well. So
Mentioned too, there are a few other presentations about some of the work coming out of Perth Zoo here. And I should have mentioned too, there are posters around too. So one of the other options for presenting here at our conferences is that you can produce a poster presentation. So please do take your time during morning teas and lunch to have a look at, there's 8 different posters in this room. Currently leading the Climate Change Subcommittee of the Australasian section of Wildlife Disease Association. She'll be talking today about climate change in wildlife and zoo animals. Thank you.
So just a little graphic here on rainfall predictions for climate change, because that's something that's really going to affect us a lot, especially here in Southwest WA. And one of our colleagues published an excellent paper in a few years ago just showing that this mouse population experienced significant mortalities and lung pathology because of smoke inhalation relating to the fires. And the really interesting thing was that this population was not actually in the fire zone, it was 50 kilometres away. And so some of you definitely would have experienced heat waves, drought conditions, fire risks in your zoo animals and have had to go through the processes of planning for those, the emergency, oh my goodness, how can we grab this animal, how can we get it off site? Can't underestimate the impact of the conversations that we have, whether it's at keeper talks, or just with friends and family, just normalising talking about climate change and wildlife and how that's affecting our animals. I think it's important to remember that our animals don't carry that. They don't know all the stuff that we do. And so one of the most important things we can do is continue caring for our animals, looking after them, taking joy in our interactions with them. And I think really looking after ourselves and looking out for each other is one of the best things we can do just to internally combat some of that grief and dread that we face with these situations. And remembering that even the small impacts that we have, like this one individual koala that we were able to help through the bushfires at Adelaide Zoo, it doesn't change the population, but that is the difference between life and death for that animal. So thank you everyone for everything you do.
Thanks so much, Sarah. I think we've all bunkered down for a few hard truths these next few days. But as we all know, a lot of that falls in our arena and something that we can all be working on too. So it's good to all take away from here. Thanks so much. Next up, we've got Jenna Hollandy, also here from Perth Zoo. So Jen has been juggling her time between conservation and project roles here at the zoo for a little while now. And she's also our ASZK secretary.
Mine still will be a tiny bit sad, but hopefully this is a little more whimsical than the last one. So very much has been in the works for over a decade as well. So the team over there are just so proud and they're so happy that it's actually come from, you know, a drawing on a paper that we were fundraising for to an actual orangutan haven. The staff can equip themselves with the knowledge and practical guidance to undertake their work with confidence and pride. It's not really highly regarded over in Indonesia, so we really try to, be their number one cheer team over here as well, and especially when we go there, which really, really helps. So as experienced keepers, it's not only our role to continuously learn and evolve, but to pass on these learnings and evolutions to our fellow keepers who may not be able to access the information readily or are isolated through distance, language or funding. Got nearly 10 people in the audience today actually that have come along to Sumatra, to the orangutan haven in the last couple of years. So they might chat to you about that as well. A really big thank you to Amy Robbins from Auckland Zoo. She isn't here today, but she is not only my number one supporter, but she's my biggest inspiration as well, and she's who I do this work with. And it wouldn't be as fun if we didn't do it together. And then also just wanting to acknowledge as well scholarships through the ASZK, and that allowed me to go over for 2 weeks, and that was amazing. Amazing for the team, just being able to touch base, because the orangutans were arriving anywhere from September last year to January this year. So it's all really fresh for these guys. All the keepers at the haven are new. This is their first keeping job. I'm looking forward to working hopefully for another 10 years with them.
It was really inspirational and great too that you've had the chance to get over there with one of the ASZK awards. That's something that's open to all of our members, so there'll be more details later in the year about our awards programs and our scholarships.
Another uplifting topic. Cairns Zoo and Wildlife Dome is this building here, really unique location in the centre of Cairns City, located several stories up on top of the Reef Casino. So if you're at the icebreaker on the roof terrace of the Wildlife Dome, that was actually on the 26th of August 2022, and on the 25th of August 2023, almost a full year later, we met on the same roof terrace to announce the closure of the dome. Now the reason for closure was very much against our will, and it was because of maintenance issues from our landlord, the casino, that couldn't. The 2 priorities were people, trying to redeploy as many as we could within our company, and animals. The mission from an animal side of things was to relocate every animal to the right home, and I took that to the extreme of every individual animal, from our biggest resident, which is Goliath, through to even the insects that we would feed out in. This is a rescued wild kookaburra by the name of Jill, who actually kept us quite sane during those last few days, and I would argue became one of the most enriched animals in Australia. She was a good distraction. Obviously the second goal was staff welfare. It was some difficult times, some difficult conversations. So I encourage you, if you're going through a difficult process, to find some silver linings. This photo wall was put up by staff, past and present, including their own testimonies to what it was like to work there. It was allowing them to gain their own closure. And this is how some of us did it. 8 of us one night went and got tattoos of the logo of Cairns Zoo and Wildlife Dome, including a couple of first-time tattoos. And it potentially allowed people to gain their own closure. I think my closure comes here, from talking to you guys and representing the Wildlife Dome for one final time. Knowing he would never return, for me, knowing I'd probably never work with him again. It's a rubbish place to smell the roses from, I can tell you. So I'd really, really encourage you to smell the roses of your current success now and keep doing that. Really thank you for allowing me the privilege of telling this story, closing this chapter. The Wildlife Dome will certainly live on in the hearts of all of our staff and on the skin of some of the others.
Thanks, Dan. That was amazing to hear what a journey you've all been on. Next up, we've got Navigating the Aftermath of a Tornado in a Zoo with Ashleigh and Jessica.
On Christmas night 2023, our zoological facility, Paradise Country on the Gold Coast, was affected by a severe storm, with what weather experts later confirmed to be a tornado. Even though the tornado only lasted 15 minutes, we received wind speed records of up to 200 kilometres per hour, heavy rainfall and thunderstorms.
Site security and groundsmen were attempting to remove as much as they physically could in order for us to have safe access. However, it was evident we were going to need more than some chainsaws. We were going to require some heavy machinery.
Later on Boxing Day, we were informed that the roof damage to our back of house area was deemed unsafe, where we were currently housing temporarily for the night the dingo pups, 2 male koalas and our reptiles. Priority was to move any animals that had an escape route or able to injure themselves and to perform basic husbandry duties. On inspection of the park, the enclosures that were affected included koalas, wombat, dingo and brew park exhibits, which all sustained significant damage.
This weather event alone is a clear example of how we as zookeepers have and will continue to grow in this changing world.
We would like to dedicate our presentation today to Flash, our brave and beautiful Eastern Grey kangaroo who we sadly lost that night. We were dealing with every day. Thank you.
Python Morelia viridis is a beautiful iconic snake that is sought after globally for breeding and display. Due to the lack of wild breeding knowledge and our inability to actually witness in the wild due to the dense vegetation, it's become vitally important that we do actually talk to other zoos and institutions and part with this knowledge, and also with the species coordinator, which is currently James Fong of Australia Zoo, that we actually get good genetic diversity and also healthy species in captivity. We actually saw copulation take place on camera, as well as at the AM keeper checks. R-rated slide coming up, ladies and gentlemen. So they were still locked together at the morning checks, and this went on for the next 4.5 weeks. So and then the first hatchling appeared on the 24th of November. So we just doing some research, and after watching these guys start to pick, we decided that we would actually make an incision in the top of the eggs with just some tweezers and a scalpel, just so we've been lucky enough to actually being able to extend our loan from David Flay's Wildlife Park of having the green tree pythons. So we are going to try and breed them again this season. The females already started to show the same signs as last year, with an increased appetite, so watch this space. To James and Nick from Australia Zoo for setting me off in the right path with starting this paper and giving me some good information, and hopefully we can keep in touch with James, being that he's the species coordinator. To Jake for allowing me to use his photographs, thank you very much. And also to Sean, our content creator, for helping me with my videos. Thank you.
I'm from Noongar Zoo, Sydney, and over the last 3 years I've been lucky enough to be part of maybe one of the more unusual conservation programs in the region, so much so that some of my colleagues now call me Andrew Snarley. This all started in 2020 when scientists from the Australian Museum were out on Norfolk Island conducting population surveys of terrestrial snails. And what was special about this was that this species hadn't been seen alive in over 20 years. It was presumed extinct. Because these snails have evolved in isolation on Norfolk Island, we would need to be really careful that we wouldn't accidentally introduce a mainland pathogen to an ex situ population. After, you can see it's a pretty dramatic injury. And so the best theory our vets could come up with was that the mouth parts were actually experiencing fatigue. The muscles that supported them were becoming tired and weak and actually couldn't hold them within the body. And then we obtained permission to collect 30 more Advena campbellii. They persisted and we're having more success with them than with Surai. So we decided to focus on them and see if we could really nail on their husbandry. But we also had to change the way we work in terms of running a program, not starting without that basic husbandry information that we all like to have and we generally have in our day-to-day work. We rely on the Australian Museum. They actually fund pretty much most of this project or obtain funding. They help us with data analysis to make sure that we're pulling out information that is useful and relevant. We really hope that it can serve as a model for other organisations faced by challenges with climate change and potential imminent extinctions, particularly when it comes to invertebrate species which are underrepresented in our conservation programs. Thank you.
so you probably won't see me at all. So what is Wildlife Wanderers? The Wildlife Wanderers program is basically nature play. If you don't know what that is, it's encouraging kids to get outside, get dirty, get amongst the natural environment and actually really enjoy nature, animals, and all the things that we loved when we were kids. So we had to start thinking, what were we going to do to try and revitalise a business that had only been open, technically, for a couple of years? So I dove headfirst into creating a jam-packed schedule, a smart business plan, because that's very, very important when you want to get the CEO on board. The overall goal is to inspire the next generation of local kids and their families, developing a strong bond with nature, promoting environmental stewardship and a love for wildlife, but also fostering community as well. And now, even though I have a dedicated group of people that comes every single week, I still worry, are people going to show up? So I replaced the "are my locks locked" with "are people going to come? Can I actually do this?" And of course the answer was yes. I can do this and they will come. What started as this little hour-long program has now turned into Wild Wednesdays, where families could actually utilise some of the park that they don't normally get Monday to Friday. They get to know us by name, so we become part of their lives when they go home. And they come back week after week. So each session is curated around a theme. And that could be Indigenous, that could be getting people moving, that could be recycling and reusing, could be focusing on specific animals. And then Benny, generally, will throw in something randomly unexpected that adds some excitement and some frustration to our day. We've got to put that in there as well, right? So Wildlife Wanderers is on a trajectory of growth and transformation, fueled by my crazy deep-seated passion to make a meaningful difference in our community through hands-on engagement. So thank you very much for hosting today and to ASZK for giving me the opportunity. And a little personal thing. If anyone can get me up close with Raja, he will be my bestest friend in the entire world.
All right, so morning sessions are done. So we've gone through about, 5, 6, 7? I can't remember, but they were all epic little presentations. Welcome to Country was incredible. I've personally never actually experienced something like that before. So we've had our lunch break. We've got a morning tea as well. Far out, they feed you well at these conferences, folks. We're just broken off now into a couple of different workshops. So we're focusing in on ethograms or ethograms, depending on what side of the country you're from, I suppose. Derby and Derby. Anyway, we digress. And then the other side is a little session from Harry Rust. He's going to be highlighting some of the gear he uses, and I believe it's like sound recording and doing ex situ stuff. They go for a little while. I don't know, check your program, folks. But yeah, we'll get in there and check in on the festivities before Jenna locks me out.
I ended up staying at uni for a really long time doing research. So I worked with wild magpies first, which is where I was introduced to ethograms and actually researching individual behaviors. And we're using ethograms to basically compare wild behaviors to our rehabilitated individuals to try and get them as close to wild sort of behaviors as we can before we release them. Something that is really important, I think, that we document, describe, and also share amongst each other. And by doing it in a really objective and scientific way, I think it kind of takes the emotion out of it, and then that helps us to better understand when these behaviors are occurring and kind of how to hopefully manage them. It's kind of overwhelming because there's a lot that we can be watching for in our animals, and it does really depend on what you as keepers and as a team think is important and want to observe. And I thought we could split into 5 groups and then hit one of each, so each group can cover a few behaviors from each of these topics. So I'm not sure how we want to split it.
Would you like me to split them into groups?
Yeah.
I'm happy to split everyone into groups. Fantastic. All right, listen for your number. How many groups? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. What behaviours around
All right, is everyone finished with their epigram section? Okay, can we just have someone from each group read out what they have come up with?
But said the first one was crying. So we listed it as an individual behaviour, and the definition was excessive tear production, may be associated with vocalisation, e.g. wailing. May also see other keepers providing comforting behaviours, e.g. hugging or consoling.
Passive-aggressive diary entry. We said that's a communication with aggression, dominance, and territoriality. We said it's a pattern of indirectly expressing negative feelings instead of openly addressing them. And the last one was aggressive swearing, which we said the type was communication vocalisation. Vocalising using specific words in an aggressive context, and we can't go around the room and name it.
And then the last one is self-centering. So we put that under physical change in communication, increase of perfumes, colognes, makeup, clothing styles.
It's delivered in an often harsh, loud tone, often seen in response to unfavourable stimuli.
So repeatedly checking locks or waking up in the middle of the night worrying about it.
Actually describing them can be quite complicated. But yeah, we're happy to share our epigrams with people and get people started on them. Yeah, I'm happy to help with anyone if they have questions or want to get some started. Thank you guys so much. That was really fun.
Well, reintroduction. Great spotted kiwis in New Zealand. They were introducing kiwis in the Nina Valley. Some of them came from, or they were already wild species in Hordern Valley, which has a very thriving population, and a lot of them were captive bred. Once they had all these recordings from that array, they used this program, Kaleidoscope Pro. They built that classifier, so they recognised, or they trained the program how to identify this particular breed of kiwi, and therefore they could just chuck in months and months worth of data and it would pull out all the great spotted kiwi calls. In 1 hour of manual work, they could analyse 1,000 hours of recordings from the site. So what this found was a huge increase in the occupancy of kiwis in the Nina Valley where they were reintroduced. They were able to quantify that basically by monitoring a population where they knew the population number, seeing how many times they were vocalising, and then using that as an indication of this many vocalisations means there are this many individuals. Let's kind of take a step back and look at how would we conduct a project and how would you guys actually set this up? What's the practical methods of doing it? First of all, we need to understand, is bioacoustics actually suitable for our species? In some cases it won't be, but if the species is difficult to detect visually, it will certainly help.
That technology, both for the acoustics and the camera trapping, but also for the field device. It's getting really freaking smart out there, because I know we've got camera traps. I work at Cleveland for very small zoo fields, and they'll pick up anything. Like we're literally down a hole you couldn't find by ice up because of the camera tracking. So
particularly because it's only the males that call. So they use the acoustics and they usually strap it to a tree in the area where they think there's tinker frog, being that it's on an escarpment and it's really steep and very thick vegetation.
And it's fantastic having that historical data. I know, like, for the work I've done with bats in Adelaide, like, there's so little study that's been done for them, and you know, you can have records of people seeing them or hearing them, well, less hearing them with bats, but you can have records of these animals, but to be able to actually revisit and see evidence that there really were animals there and done this identification is really useful. And they've got this CCTV footage, they've got acoustic recorders, they've got all of this monitoring, and the activities they're able to see is amazing. Like, they've got this cave system with different chambers. One chamber is like a maternity roost where all the tiny newborn bats are, and then there's another chamber which they call flight school, where all the baby bats are being taught how to fly by the adult bats, and then those bats will go on like an expedition with the adult bats across Mount Gambier and the region and see all the different caves they go through in winter and stuff, and they'll learn how to go there. Anyway, if you get me started on bats, please write your name down on that piece of paper, it's great. Because then I can tell my boss, look at how many people came here, I need to go to Wellington next year. If you do want to get into this field of study, we do, as I say, we run these courses, but I'm also very happy to work one-on-one with you and help develop these skills, how to do cluster analysis, build recognizers and classifiers, if you do want.
Introduce Graeme and colleagues so that they can get cracking on this. But Graeme's been offering up this workshop for about 4 years? At least 4 years. Anyway, I think with as we had the theme of the conference with climate change, it's the perfect opportunity to run with this workshop. So I'm just going to leave you to it.
Okay, well let's have
so they've got a plan, I'm hoping.
The Holly and Graeme show. So look...
does everyone know Graeme?
What's that?
Does everyone know Graeme?
Oh, okay. Oh, you don't? You haven't had the joy.
Okay, so
come and see me after. And
Graeme's currently at Moonlit, but he was my curator of birds at Taronga Zoo many years ago, and he was a really great mentor. But he's also life member of the ASZK. He's a member of ASZK, and he's done a lot for collection planning in particular. He was the one that got collection planning, which started with birds off the ground, and the rest is history.
That's exactly right.
So,
we did it all on birds, and then the directors went, ooh, maybe other things could go. And then Carla and everyone said, oh, you mean like that? Press the button, and then up comes all of the regional collection planning for our region. Anyway, look, let's get into this dealing with disasters workshop. With the conference theme, we're focusing on the role of the zookeeper in this changing world. Focus on what you guys can do. And then there's up to 5 other workshop areas: birds, native mammals, reptiles, whatever else is in a zoo. That kind of thing. But what we want is, we've done our bit as the old farts and the ones that have got experience in the first part. For this second part, I'm asking that people, that the keepers, self-nominate to run, to facilitate those workshop areas. I didn't know how far you go, but you could need people to act as animals, I don't know. You normally do act as animals. So there you go. Now what we're going to need is, and we already have, workshops, facilitators who have lived experience with the disaster type. For the first set, we've got Jordan from Currumbin. And I'm not sure about this one, but Ashleigh and Jessica from Paradise Country can be doing cyclones, but I'm not sure, because the problem there is that I don't know what you guys did, but you did nearly the whole workshop. Fire, famine, disease, everything. I don't know what you did, but God doesn't like you. Then we've got Rich Roswell, Carla from Healesville, and then we'll do in a minute Chad on Zoom. Andrew Daly, thank you, Andrew. So over to you, Holly.
Okay, so what we may do is, there is some butcher paper. I've only got 3 pens, but if we can please... and you have lovely pens in your conference pack, so please bring your pen and paper. And we do want like an even spread, so I know that we want to stick with our buddies, but if you can come to a group, and maybe where you do have some experience, or if you'd like to learn a little bit more from these delegates that are going to talk us through these events. I guess you can think in the, also think in the field and in conservation work.
Yeah, but we had a lot of warning, so the cyclone's not been very cool, and it's working.
In regards to the team that stayed with you on site, did you offer them anything after the fact? Because I can imagine that would be.
Yeah, I did. So it was probably only a week later that I brought in New South Wales Health to do essentially that as a group setting.
Such a tiny little habitat preference that effectively you find. Not all of Australia, yes, they can physically walk the birds, but there's nothing on the way to see the two that sort of
Normally they're on anyway, which is a pretty hot day, so you just leave them on.
Is there going to be structural fatigue in that building at the same time? So then it's just cruising around the space. Some real engaging conversations were going on and sharing of knowledge, sharing of some of the problems that they're actually coming across in these scenarios of, whether it be bushfire or it might be flooding or cyclones and all these different sort of things that are challenging situations due to the changes in climate change. You know what I mean. You know what I'm saying. So, really interesting topics of discussion there. So I believe the plan here is to get inside and share a bit of that knowledge amongst what were some of the highlights. What did you guys actually discuss? And what did you learn from that little group conversation? So, looking forward to it.
It's actually quite interactive. And when you input things in, it'll give you recommendations. And
A flood group. So what did you find?
So we're kind of just talking through our shared experience of being able to maintain that communication between individuals, but also having that communication on a hierarchical system. So everyone has a clear understanding of who's accountable, who's providing hourly updates, either whether it be for rain, whether it be for structural things, list of damages, PPE, reactions, maintenance.
That's it. We need that. That's gold. Anyone that's there, if there's a point that was made that wasn't recorded, make sure it is. Also, for the next lots of groups, you don't have to keep saying the same stuff over and over again. Like you can just, quickly rip through, satellite phone is needed and so was whatever. Anyway, so.
Stock list of all your species that you have, just something you can quickly glance at so you can run around and make sure you've got everything, especially if you're a bigger zoo. But if you have no power, it's really hard to get access. So have keys somewhere safe.
The good thing with either hurricanes or cyclones is they're coming, so you have this big long window, you can sort of track how they're coming, because catching the animals unnecessarily is sometimes just as dangerous as like leaving them out for it.
But there was so much silt and black smoke in the air that it prevented mobile phones from being able to work. But you also have to take into consideration of staff who might not be able to control their emotions or might be slightly erratic.
And as you know, heat kills more people than those 3 events that we just went over combined.
So to manage animals, currently a lot of us use reticulation, which a lot of us have challenges with keeping it maintained before we need it. So that's something that we should really consider, is just making sure it's ready to go before the summer comes.
Ideally, your zoo will have earmarked a space where we can go, if we get an avian influenza outbreak, this is what we're doing with this species.
We were looking at habitat fragmentation and how that can play a hazard in terms of animal reintroductions. So firstly, we sort of just outlined some of what those principles are, and I'll fly through those very quickly. If there's not enough habitat, we've got to provide that habitat artificially or ex situ, and that's where our facilities come into play. And managing populations with robust genetics, not just having numbers, but having numbers of the right animals and the right genetics.
So thinking of very direct things like if after the event they need feeding or something, feed them. If there's predators, kill them. If there's what's a few bell miners compared to that kind of thing. Anyway, all right. So we'll have a euthanasia workshop following up. Oh God. Okay, so Holly and I now want to go to the next step, which is you're going to do now imaginings and based on all of this lovely new information, which is just so good. Now it's kind of applying it a bit. So we're going to ask for there to be maybe 5, Holly? 5 areas there, like birds, native mammals,
whatever else is in
reptiles. Yeah, come out the front is what happens. What's the next group? Herbs. We've got to now, and you heard how important they are. With thank you. We've got exotic primates, carnivores and ungulates, and they go well together because there's the food and the fed. So who's going to do either of those? Thank you. Oh, good on you. The only way we can successfully address that is if we've got a bunch of drills. And so Holly is going to give out the scenarios for each of those. So Holly, what's the first one? It's for fire, is it? Yeah.
So things that I've got, a heat wave over 40 degrees is predicted for 2 weeks straight. What considerations need to be made? What cooling measures need to be made, etc. A flood has occurred with waters up to 1 metre in some areas. What would be your priorities for an array of terrestrial and boreal species? So I'll give you guys these then, but if you want to come up with a different drill scenario, go for it. Have fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got invertebrates have arrived. Anything that we've overlooked? Fish. Oh no, there's nothing.
And to do that, we had an idea that we would use a drone to actually fly over the zoo. I know a lot of zoos will actually have like enclosed vehicles and people will drive around, but having a drone would be really cool and like being able to check the enclosures and check each animal from above.
They have started to do that at some zoos. I think Wellington has a drone now because obviously if there's an earthquake, the roads, you might not be able to drive on them, there might be trees falling down, so it's just a better way of being able to kind of check your...
That was just great. And how about that idea of having a drone? Like a capital idea. Was there an ungulate group, or were they just fed out or something? Yeah, you can. This is what I'm talking about.
If animals are leaving the reptile house, that everything that accompanies that animal is going as well. So in the case of an exotic venomous snake, if you've got an eastern diamondback rattlesnake that has to be taken to another part of the zoo, that anti-venom for that species is going with it, and any other protocols or appropriate staff members are moving as well.
Have the option of, if there is a disaster that happens and you're not coping, take your uniform off, remove your uniform so that you're considered just a member of the public and you can be evacuated with everyone else and you're not required to actually be in charge of other people and saving things. So I'm assuming you've got something under your uniforms, just to be clear.
That was just so good. Now, is there another group that I've overlooked at all? That being the case, Lizzie is over to you. So slightly ahead. There we go.
What a day. First day. Everyone happy? How about a applause for please make sure that Holly gets that, and then Holly can give it to me public, so everyone can have the benefit of what you worked on. That was really good. Now, tonight. So, tonight, please make sure you wear your name tag so we know you're not a gate crasher. You're going to be positively rewarded tonight. From 6 to 8, the bar for beer, wine, soft drink is free. There is paella, There is some other food for people with the dietary requirements. If you haven't brought your auction item in and you still do have one, can you make sure you bring it in the morning, please? We've got some great stuff there. It's going to be good tomorrow night. Now, photos in the app. Benny's been loading some up, I've been loading some up. So have a look at it, it's a great resource, and if you take some great photos with everyone, it's good to have photos of everyone on that app, and yeah, it's really good fun. Has everyone...
Okay, so we have officially broken for day one. The crew is meeting down at the Bowls Club at 6. The committee's just going to get together for a bit of organising for tomorrow, and then the fun will continue. Let's do it. What an incredible day. So day one pretty much done and dusted, but it's still not. So heading across to the Bowls Club, which is, well, literally right here. I'm 50 metres outside the zoo, and here we are. So this is our little parkland that we've already shown everybody, but I'm going to zip home, drop off a little bit of stuff, and catch up with the frivolity very shortly. Should be fun. That's not a fry pan. This is a fry pan.
It's going to be served half and a half. Los dos. We are going to decorate that.
Oh, está muy bien. Oh, muy bueno.
Muy bueno eso, ¿eh?
Delicioso, ¿no? Gracias. Adiós.
Adiós.
That's force.
Yeah, that's fine. No, it's actually wrong.
Brendan, brilliant. There we go, guys. That is the icebreaker done and dusted. So fantastic to see so many people interacting with new people, making these new connections and finding people that work with the same species or have similar passions for different areas within this amazing industry that we all work in. And tomorrow night's festivities is always a highlight as well. Silent auction is going to be next level this year. Let's go. That's my mission, to make this the most memorable element of this whole amazing conference, and that's staying a bit because it's been epic so far. We're only a day in. So. All right, signing off for now, but hope you guys are enjoying the journey so far. And yeah, there'll be plenty more to come. Cheers, guys. What an incredible vista over behind us. Really excited for the day ahead. So day 2 in the conference is, you know, action-packed with some really cool papers again, you know, and the quality of the content has been so good so far. And I know without fail that's just going to continue throughout. And the quality of the presenters, the diversity in not just the topics that we're discussing here, but the styles and the different people that are getting up there, having the courage, and credit to you guys who've stepped up for this challenge to present your thoughts or your experience to the greater community. It's massively appreciated from people like me who are just here to soak it in and to learn. So yeah, credit to all you guys for stepping up and doing a magnificent job so far. Yeah, day 2 is definitely action-packed. It's a long one for us. So pretty much rock up at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning with everything you're going to need for the entire day, because it is action-packed. So we've got the papers throughout. There's probably a workshop thrown in there at some point, and then we hit the road. So we're heading out to the aquarium, head across to the yacht club for our silent auction, of course. So at the yacht club there. The idea of this video is, for the people in the room. It's always cool to see a documented tale of the experience when you're there experiencing it yourself, and you know that I've only just captured snippets of it, but it's the people that are maybe thinking about coming along to an ASZK conference one day, or maybe you wanted to come this year but you couldn't get approval from your facility, or you couldn't get the funds to, it's a flight over to Perth, there's accommodation, there's all these things. But just to inspire you guys to do what you can to position yourself for this sort of experience, because it's opportunities like this, if you can make them happen, that will leap you ahead in leaps and bounds to whatever your future might hold. So yeah, just the idea is a real encouragement of you guys out there who are maybe thinking about rocking along to an ASZK in the future. Hopefully this might get you over the line, but you can see not just how much fun that we have at these gatherings, but how good it is for learning, either in your little realm or just in opening your eyes up to what else is actually out there and what other experiences are like. The spirit of collaboration that the ASZK is all about, and that we really want it to be the way of the future for this wildlife industry, and to experience it firsthand, there's no substitute for that. So yeah, encourage you guys to continue watching. At this point, I don't know, are we 10 minutes into this video, or are we already an hour in? I don't really know. We'll see that in the editing. I'm not looking forward to the editing process, let's be honest, but it's got to be done. This is the fun part here. This is easy. Maybe I should employ an editor. No. Let's do this. That's a wrap, an official wrap. I know I've already done a spiel already saying it's a wrap. This is the official wrap on day 1 of ASZK Perth 2024. See you tomorrow.